Good afternoon. We are happy to have Clarissa Shields sharing with us with the Joy Tabernacle Church and with the Flint, Michigan crowd. And she's been a blessing to the Flint community. She has a heart for the community, and I'm honored that she's a part of the Joy Tabernacle Church and have expanded our ministry to reach children and women here in Flint, Michigan. Welcome home. You're getting back from Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Yes, thank you, Pastor.
Yeah, glad to have you home and to share with us on the day. I just want to spend some time just rejoicing in the Lord, because most people don't know you're a champion to the world, but you're also a champion when it comes to your faith and what we've watched you grow in the Lord here at Joy. Clarissa shares with us all the time on Sunday mornings. She's the other preacher here. She shares her message with the crowd. She's real instrumental with the kids, and we're just excited to have you home. And I just want to share about this pandemic and how you have travailed even in your boxing career, though things have been slowed down, and most of all, your faith, because when you came here, it wasn't the stardom that I was attracted to, but that part of your faith that I said, wow, she has in-depth faith. Can you kind of share about your relationship? Well, share, first of all, tell us about the titles. I can't keep them all.
Okay. I always try to memorize. My name is Clarissa Shields, 3-time division world champion, 9-time world champion, undisputed champion, 2-time Olympic gold medalist. And I mean, at the beginning of all that, I just should have said, woman of God first, child of God. But that's all my titles. And I fight again March 5th in Flint, Michigan at the GWOAT Federal, and it'll be on Fight TV. So it's pay-per-view. We finally got a fight that's pay-per-view, so we're taking a step forward in my career, which is a great big step.
Wow.
And super excited about that. But I've been coming to Joy since 2000. I'll tell you right now, 2019. I've been coming to Joy. I came here over the summer for the summer program that my best friend Jasmine begged me to do. And she didn't have to beg me much. She came over. I was tired and didn't want to talk on the phone. And she just popped up and we talked about it in person. She had all these papers she had written down about what she wanted the program to be. And I was like, well, we can check this off, check that off. I don't want that. I don't want that. And we both kind of collabed together and made it a children's program that we both could say that we both knew information about, that we both could have, both could help the children with. And that's what started the Clarissa Shields community project. And then that's when I met you up here. And before I even decided to do the community project, I said, well, at first I have to meet the pastor. Like, I've been a part of churches where like the pastors were corrupt. The whole pew was corrupt. I didn't like going to church. I didn't like being open and talking about my problem because it was so much judgmental things going on in the church. So I said, first thing I want to do is meet the pastor. And I have a great sense of discernment. So when we talked, if you remember, I kind of just sat there and let you talk. I just looked at you while you talked, and I was like,
Well, no,
okay.
You didn't look at me. You looked the other way, and then you turned around. I remember you on the phone, pointing this way, and you turned around, and I think that's when God allowed our spirits to connect.
Yep. And ever since then, I had a great relationship with you and a great relationship with the church, and just something that I wanna come back to, So yes, I'm trying to think. The first time I came, it's like the first time I came here to church, pastor always wanted more of me, right? And I was kind of like, oh no, I don't want the spotlight always on me. But he wanted me to be open as far as in how I felt about Christ and how I felt about church and just how I deal with my life problems. And because everybody see the good stuff, like nobody sees when you're fighting depression.
Right.
And I think that once I dislocated my knee in 2019.
Later, probably 2019.
Yep, I had dislocated my knee, and we had the summer camp here. And that's the only reason I got out the bed was to come to the summer camp with the kids. And that used to, and that actually dragged me out of depression because I couldn't drive myself. I couldn't stand up for more than 10 minutes without my leg hurting. I had to depend on people to help me put my shoes on, put my pants on. And I just was like, oh my God, what why am I going through this? And then also my fight had been canceled, and then I was being trolled on Instagram and Twitter, and I just was like, oh. The only thing that was exciting to me at that time was that I would come to the program here with the kids, and they would be so excited to see me and come every day for 3 months.
And I think we shared during that time that you were able to reacquaint with your own child.
Yep.
During that time.
Yep. And the childhood that I didn't have.
Exactly.
And so I was able to give the kids more of a sense of how to deal with their problems other than using anger. How do you cope with your mom dying? How do you cope with your dad going to prison? How do you cope with your brother being killed? You know, and people say, oh, you know, counseling, but what kind of counseling?
Exactly.
And our program had boxing counseling, fitness, writing, music. So we had the program to where every child was not stuck to one entity. Throughout the day, we would have them for 4 hours, Pastor, 3 to 7, and some parents wouldn't come and get their kids till 8. I don't know what they thought we was doing. They thought we was babysitting. I don't know what was going on with those parents. They know what I'm talking about. But throughout the day, every hour we would have them switch. So every kid did boxing, every kid spent time in the studio, every kid did the fitness workout, and every kid did the writing essay. And we just switch it up throughout the day. So no kid got to say, oh, I only want to do boxing. Like, no, we're going to figure out we want you to learn what is the best coping method for you.
Exactly.
So once we learn that, we can tell your parent, this is how this kid copes with their anger, copes with expressing themselves. And we had kids in our program who never even talked to their parents before. And after being in our program for 1 month, parents came to us crying, saying, my child is so open now. And it was parents crying to us. And I was like, this is a little bit too much for me. But it was just great to see some of those kids who were scared and terrified find their confidence and then start working toward who they're supposed to be.
Well, let me say this.
Yeah.
And saying how so many were inspired by the camp. It is a part in the Bible that said, if you can suffer with me, you can reign with me. You went through a lot of suffering.
Yeah.
And then you were able now to reign at this level. And a lot of people don't understand when you walk as the GWOAT and you walk in your confidence now. They have no idea of the hell you've been through before that gave you that plateau. Can you kind of share about how your confidence is where it is today because of all you went through and all the obstacles you had to step over?
Yeah, I can just say that I've been in the church since I was a younger kid, and I was introduced to the church by my grandmother, Joanne Adams, and she was the one who wanted me to get baptized when I was 6. Now I didn't get baptized till I was 13, but at the age of 6, when my grandmother wanted me to get baptized, I said, "What is that?" She said, "Well, you get to ride down the pew with a motorcycle." Doing a wheelie. And I said, what? I want to definitely do that. So that was what I thought being baptized was, riding down the middle of the pew on a motorcycle doing a wheelie. And I just was like, I never even seen that in church. But since my grandmother told me it, I'm like, she know I must like motorcycles because I'm so down for it. So actually around that age, that's when I had to go up in front of the church, and that's when I became saved just by announcing it. I didn't get baptized until I was 13. But starting boxing is kind of where it's funny how everything go together because people don't know, but in boxing, I started boxing when I was 11 years old. I could not get a good grade in science for the life of me. So at the age of 12, I was still boxing, but I had very bad anger problems. I did not know how to express myself. I couldn't talk that well. I stuttered very bad. And I had a very bad anger problem. I could not control it. And I get mad at myself now sometimes because I be having to catch my anger, but sometimes I catch it a second too late and I'm like, oh, all right, I messed up. And thank God for his forgiveness on that, right. But I would say at the age of 12, my anger had got so bad. My mom was abusing alcohol, and I forgot exactly what happened. His words really was hurting my feelings that she would say when she was drinking. And I think she probably called me a dyke, or she probably said something mean to me. And I wrote a letter And I was like, I'm about to hang myself. I'm gonna kill myself. I'm tired of living like this. I'm tired of seeing her like that, because it wasn't that she was only drinking, but she was getting into fights. I already had been molested. I had been raped at the age of 5. I had already been through so much, and just like, you know what,
You was conscious of it. You knew what the violation.
yeah, and I was just like, you know what, I'm tired of dealing with this. So I wrote a letter, and I was contemplating on taking my life. I was 12.
Wow.
And so I wrote this letter, and I basically folded it up, and I ended up falling asleep right where I wrote this note at. But my younger sister, Brianna, found the note, and she ran it downstairs, and she just couldn't wait to tell everybody that I wrote it. And I was just like, I didn't write that. No, I didn't. And my mama was reading, and she was like, you going to go move with your auntie. And my Aunt Tammy came over, she read the note, and I moved in with my auntie. So I was still boxing at the time. And I remember staying with my auntie. It wasn't difficult, but it wasn't like my mom's house. Like, we had rules, we had a bedtime, it was a certain time that we ate.
At your auntie's?
At my Aunt Tammy's house.
Structure.
Yeah, it was very, very structured. And something she said was, if you get good grades, you can continue boxing, because this is on the south side and Burson is on the north side. So that was like a 20-minute drive every day. And she like, you keep your grades up, I'll take you to the gym. I ended up switching from Northwestern, and I went to McKinley. And my grades, math, I've always been strong at, writing, reading, but science, it just was so boring to me. I just was like, why do I have to do this? And I was asleep in that class. So I stayed with her, I think I was with her for about a month and a half. Report cards came back, I had an E in science. She took me out of boxing. And now that really just set me into a rage. Like, she never seen me get that angry before. But I mean, I was throwing stuff, I was screaming, and this was only one day of not going to the gym. So after a month of not going to the gym and me bringing her home a progress report every week to tell her, hey, I got a B, I'm at an A, I'm at a B plus. Like, look, this grade is going to be up, so you might as well just let me go back to boxing practice now instead of waiting to the whole month and a half, which she didn't give in. So a month and a half without boxing, I went back to the gym after that, and I had a boxing match not even 2 weeks later. So I hadn't trained in a month and a half, and I had a boxing match, and I fought against this girl named Chloe Kimsey. And people were like, oh, what's the story about? But this girl was so tough. This is a white girl too. She plays soccer now, and she cooked. But I know that because she reached out to me on Facebook and told me all this. But me and this girl got ready to fight, and she's the first girl who ever talked trash to me before a fight. We wasn't even dressed yet, and my dad was sitting next to her mom, and her mom said, who you fighting? And she said, I'm fighting her. And her mama said, and what you gonna do to her? And she looked at me, she said, I'm gonna knock her out. And when she said that, my dad looked at me, and like my face had just turned like all kind of scrunched up. I was so mad. My dad said, baby, you all right? And I said, I gotta go get dressed. And he was like, Muffin, you okay? And I just walked away from him, and I went and put on my boxing gear. And all I could think about was like, who she thinks she talking to like that? She don't even know.
Did that set an attitude in you with boxing, you think?
Boxing was competitive for me.
Right.
And I didn't get judged at the gym. I was the only girl, but the boys never said, you're sweating too much. They was like, okay, she working hard. And I got praised by my first coach, Jason Crutchfield, all the time for that, for just my hard work, my ethic, right. My dedication, my focus. He always was like, you doing good, you learning, you smart, and you a tough fighter. And I was the best fighter in the gym. But this girl we had a really, really good fight. I won the fight even though I had got tired because I really hadn't been training.
Right.
But after that fight, that's when I decided, I said, you know what? If my goal is to go to the Olympics at the age of 17 and be the first woman to win an Olympic gold medal at 165, I'm going to need some extra help.
Now, how old were you then?
12.
And you had it in your mind, you had a goal to go to the Olympics.
Yep, and we always thought I would be too young.
Wow.
Because in 2012, I was still 16. Was 2012 I was 16? Yeah, when it was the Olympic qualifiers, I was still 16 and I had to be 17, but somehow some rules got changed and I made the deadline. But I would say that this fight, I had told God, I said, you know what? I'm gonna need some extra help if I'm gonna be. I need extra help with school, not really the boxing matches and like the training. But if I don't train, I will have harder boxing matches like I did with Chloe. So I decided to go to church, and I started going to church. And then just in church, they were saying that God can help make things that are hard, easier. And the first thing I thought about, well, if he can help me breathe better in that fight, I think that's the guy I want on my team, because I couldn't breathe. I was so tired. But it was just my heart that kept fighting the girl, and that's how I won. And I just remember they was talking about like how God can change this and how God can change that. And Jesus can help you do this. All you have to do is ask him. And I just was like, well, he just accepts anybody? I really wasn't, what is it? So I started paying attention. And before I knew it, I just started becoming a better person. And I prayed that God strengthened my mind. I felt like I was weak-minded. So after going to church for about like a good 6 months, 8 months to a year, at 13 I got baptized. And from there, the dark tunnel just seemed like the whole tunnel just lit up. It was doors everywhere. There was a light door here, a light door there. It wasn't just light at the end of the tunnel. It was like I had so many different options, so many different ways to go. And that God was on my side. And when I think about it now, even though I went through some hardships, even then, God granted me peace throughout that whole thing. Like, I never went crazy. I never lost my mind. I never lost my mind and went to jail. I never let my anger get the best of me. It was like I would have my troubles, but somehow God still kept me in those times. But that's how boxing and my Christ life kind of came together. And then before I know it, like I was praying before practice, I was praying at the gym, I was praying before my fight. I would pray. I would get in the ring, walk the whole ring to let my opponent know this is my ring and you don't run nothing here. And when I got back to my corner, I just hit my knees and I would pray. And then the ref would come over there and check my mouthpiece, check my headgear, ask me if I'm okay. I say yes, and then we go to the ring and then we touch gloves, then we fight. And I win. And I just continued. And that's been like my whole journey with boxing. Even when I lost, I won. It was weird. It was like, even though I had lost my only fight when I think it was like 17, and it was my 26th boxing match.
At 17.
Yeah, it was needed for me to lose.
Wow.
And people say, people like to say, you either win or you learn. And I'm a person, look, either you win or you lose. That's it, But I will say that from that fight, it lit a different kind of fire in me, because at that time, you're thinking about a teenager on top of the world, ranked number 1 in the country, and the favorite number 1 to win the Olympics, to win the world championship, everything at the age of 16. It can make you be a little cocky. You're the best fighter in your gym. Even the men and the boys can't beat you. So I did have that cockiness to me at that time, but like I still gave praise to God for it. And also too, Pastor, I was a virgin. I had kept a vow to God, like, God, you're getting me to the Olympics and you've helped me all this time. That's the least I can do, is save my virginity for marriage. And that's how I was back then. And then before you know it, after I lost, I had this, I don't know, it kind of felt like a relationship was kind of broken. You know what I mean? It was like a relationship that was going great. We got married, and all of a sudden I found like that my husband was like, you know what? I don't care about you no more. It's over. And then we just, so that's what it felt like losing to me. It felt like being in a perfect relationship, and then your husband or your wife just telling you like, yeah, I'm done with you. I'm out. And you be like, why? And they like, it don't matter. I'm out. They give you no closure. They just leave. So that's what it felt like, losing my O. But after dealing with that for about a week, after crying and being angry and not being able to sleep, it was something. And God just came to me. He said, I had needed you to lose. And of course, I'm having a conversation with God, and I'm like, why would you want that? Right. Like, I wanted to be undefeated. And God told me, He said, that's not what your heart desires. Your heart desires that you be the first woman to be an Olympic champion at 165 pounds. You didn't say that you're that your heart desired to be undefeated throughout your entire career. That's not what your heart desires. And so, with that being said, I needed the loss because it made me train harder. It made me respect the sport more. It made me focus better. And it gave me a different kind of, just that extra ounce that I needed. So, if I wouldn't have lost, I would have won that fight, which I feel like I did win that fight. But maybe I would have got a bronze medal at the Olympics or like a silver. And I think God knows me well enough to know I can't deal with neither one of them. I don't want silver, I don't want bronze. Give me gold or keep it. I don't want it. So I feel like God, he knew that I wouldn't be able to survive the plane ride home in my right mind.
Right.
Come on with a silver or bronze medal. I'm just keeping it real. So God knows my heart. So I needed that loss. And from that loss, me and God been on the same page ever since.
It's amazing, as I said, your foundation with God. And most people don't know that. How does it feel to be the champion, the GWOAT, and to walk in this level of courage that most of the world, especially the unsaved world, have no idea of the strength of the Lord that's within us and the Spirit of God within us? How can you share with the world the importance of having a God, having a foundation, especially so many people are so lost who make no commitment, especially when you talked about the disciplines of growing up and abstaining yourself, all those things that it takes to be who you are.
I think the main thing people who are not saved and who are saved need to do and understand to become closer to God is that you have to open up. You can't be so tough to where you can't even come to God. You can't think that you know it all to where you can figure everything out, because to tell you the truth, Pastor, there's been so many moments in my life, even recently, where I'm like, you know what? I just do not have the answers.
Right.
And I've already been saying that this is the first time ever in my life where I had to just say, I never realized that I never done it before, but I said, God, you know what? Boxing has always everything always fell in my lap. I got the great promoter, I got the great manager, I got this person and that person, I got the boxing network. Everything just God set it up and it just fell there. But once everything started going to shambles and you don't know who's doing what, or you don't know who supports you, you don't know who's for you, who's against you.
And do you mean during this season of pandemic when the whole world shifted?
Yes, during this season of the pandemic.
Yeah.
It's just like you don't know who's for you, you don't know who's against you. And it was just like, you know what? God, I can't even figure out what's going on in my career. I can't figure out what's going on in my life. So you know what? I'm going to give you my career, and whatever you choose to do with it, you choose to do with it. And I kind of just sat back and I stopped worrying. Was I upset that I wasn't getting fights? Yes. Was I upset that I became ranked number 2 in the world instead of number 1? Yes. But I just told God, I'm gonna let you do whatever you're gonna do with my career. I'm not making no more phone calls. I'm not sending on no more texts. I'm not sending on no more tweets. I'm not writing on no Facebook. I'm gonna let you figure it out, because clearly I don't know what's going on. You know. So I'm gonna let you just order my footsteps, and then before you know it, about after 2 weeks of not really hearing anything, because that's how God works. People want to get answers right away, and it's like, you gotta wait a minute. God is doing something. And he doing something for everybody, so he can't just do everything for you and get it done in one day. So don't be selfish. Don't be selfish. Let God do his work. But it took about 2 weeks, and then before you knew, I got this big phone call from the Professional Fighters League, the PFL, the MMA League now that I'm signed to for 3 years. And then I started getting calls about boxing matches that I had coming up. And it seemed like we would get this close to having a boxing match, and then it would get canceled. And I was like, oh, all right. But it still just was like I already had put my career in God's hands. So that was like, okay, that was supposed to happen. Whatever the result was, because I was supposed to fight May 9th. I was supposed to fight September 26th or October 3rd. I was supposed to fight November 28th, possibly. I was supposed to fight December 10th. All those fight dates got canceled. And a few of those times sent me into a rage, but it was more just like, I'm just training so hard. I'm dieting, I'm eating healthy, and it just seemed like nothing was happening as far as my career, but I'm sitting back watching everybody else fight. And so it was a little frustrating, but it just was like, God was like, I got something bigger for you. So when he started showing me things one by one, okay, signed to the MMA league, it made my brand bigger. I said, okay, all right, even the MMA is a little hard, but I didn't even have a game plan. Then all of a sudden, some of the best coaches in the world from Jackson Wing, Albuquerque reached out to me and said, we'd love to have you in our stable. We'd love to have you at our gym. And I said, okay, well, when's as soon as I can come? This was beginning of December. They said, well, you could come, when do you want to come? I said, how about next Monday? I think it was a Friday. He said, in 3 days? I said, yeah, I'll be there. It's only 2 flights, ain't it? And I booked my flight and I spent 2 days, I spent 2 weeks in Albuquerque. And I started learning so much, and then I started learning there, and I'm getting the same compliments that I get in boxing. When I first started, like, oh, you learn so quick, you're so strong, you're so fast. It's just now I'm not 11 years old, I'm 25. And then now we at the boxing matches, and we got 2 boxing matches lined up right now already, just to start this year off, March 5th, and then another date that I can't announce yet. But big news coming, and it's just like, I'm still just kind of sitting back, because I'm like, you know what, God he's doing something, and I don't want to jump in the mix of it and mess it up, because this is his plan. I'm just kind of, whatever opportunities come, I just think God want me to nod my head yes, and I've been getting acting opportunities. I've got 2 scripts I'm supposed to be memorizing lines right now. I met a lady named Frida Gibbs, who was the first African-American woman to ever fight combat sports pay-per-view ever. Before Layla Ali, before Ann Wolfe, before the Christy Martins, it was a woman named Frida Gibbs. And she's 57 years old now, but having a conversation with her and also seeing a woman who looks like me fight pay-per-view, and I don't mean look like me, not just black, but we're both dark-skinned. That's what I'm saying. Like, you get the light-skinned girls and stuff, but this woman is dark-skinned, kind of built the same as me. And it just kind of more, what is it? I'm trying to think of the word. It's more energy to me to even know that she acknowledges me and she knows me. It's inspiring. That's it. So but the question you asked, that I don't want to overdo that, but you have to open up. You want to have a good relationship with God, a closer relationship with God. You have to open up, and then you have to understand that just because you become a child of God doesn't mean that problems will not come your way. The devil is mad. When you decide, Jesus, I give you my life, and I'm going to let you order my footsteps, the devil gets mad, and he wants to do anything to make you curse God, to make you curse Jesus and say, oh, God, you supposed to be so awesome, but look at my life. My life is terrible. Forget you. I'm going back to what I used to do, which is people don't know that they're worshiping the devil or that they're being careless with their life. But God is ordering their footsteps. He wants you to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. But you don't have to like it in order for it to help you.
Absolutely. When you become uncomfortable, it gives you opportunity to trust God, because you don't know your own steps. You don't know what's next. And you said that it's important that everyone knows that behind all success is a God that gives. He directs us. He said, Jeremiah, your favorite scripture, Jeremiah
29:11. For I, God, know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and give you hope for a better future.
Absolutely. And that's what I hope people walk away from this, realizing the greatest championship is not in a ring, but it's in your relationship with God. It's not at the top of Wall Street. It's not in the top of business, but it's with God. But because of your relationship with God, then you can go and be a champion, and not only be a champion for the world, but enjoy it. And I think you enjoy your life. I know you enjoy your life.
Yeah, I train a lot, and I gotta drink a lot of water. Where's my water at? It's over there. I need to start drinking it. But also too, like, I just enjoy having my downtime. Yeah. And I think that having people. Now I want to say something too, just for if there are any celebrities watching, you have to find that time. Thank you. You have to find that time to where you got to cut the phone off. You got to shut down Facebook and Twitter and whatever else is going on. And you got to really I'm going to spend this time with God. And also, too, people have to stop being scared of people judging them because they have a message that God sent straight from the heavens to you to give to the world. And that's kind of what I've been doing with my YouTube channel and my Instagram. Whenever God sends me a message, I just want to get it out there. I don't want to keep it inside because the message is for me, but it's also for somebody else.
What is your YouTube channel?
My YouTube channel is Claressa Shields GWOAT channel.
And the other?
And then all my other social networks is at Claressa Shields. Okay. Blue check mark. That's me.
Okay, and what is some of the things you just want to share? 3 good points you want to share to this world. Again, I want to thank you for all you've done for Flint, Michigan, and your connections. And I'm so glad that your summer camp brought fruit and restored family lives. And what are 3 points you want to make as we come? I don't want to come to an end. This is phase 1. Trust me. We're going to continue with this because this is good. I'm going from it. But 3 things you want to leave with people today.
3 things I will leave with people are realize that when sometime, because I've been going, realize sometime that when you point the finger and you blame something on somebody else, just instead of you saying it to them, whenever you say it, imagine you point at yourself and saying that same thing. And I say that because we're so quick to point the finger and blame this person and that person instead of just saying, you know what, some stuff is actually my fault. And some stuff I could have handled better. That's one thing I want to leave with y'all. Second thing I want to leave, I've already said it, but if you want to have a closer relationship with God, give him that time and open up your heart. And sometimes opening up our heart is hard because you start crying and you get emotional and you start feeling stuff you haven't felt. And vulnerable is that word. And you haven't felt that in a while, but just know that you can be vulnerable with God because God will never take advantage of your vulnerability. Yep. And then the last thing I will say is when you plant a seed, you cannot get fruit the same day. And I just want to tell people, put the work in, put the work in. I was thinking about this the other day. I had made a Facebook post 4 years ago, January 27th, and I said, just getting up to get this workout in, trying to get this first world title. And it made me kind of emotional because it's 4 years later. Wow. I'm a 9-time world champion. And I have belts in 3 different divisions, and it kind of shook me. And it was like, oh. Yeah. It just was like, I'm talking about getting 1 belt. And 4 years later, I got 9.
Now go back to that third one again. The
third one is when you plant a seed, you will not bear the fruit that same day.
Wow.
You have to be patient.
But you look back 4 years later and watch the fruit issue of that seed.
Right. And when I planted that seed, and the seed that I planted is what I was talking about up on my YouTube channel the other day is I planted that seed in myself because I wasn't a world champion in boxing yet, but I said I'm putting in this hard work so I can get this first world title. This is back in 2017, 4 years ago. Now we here 4 years later. We didn't just jump here from 2017 to 2021. Exactly. It was 4 years that came in between 1,300 something days. So now what I'm saying is each day, that seed of me wanting to be a world champion, that seed of me speaking into myself, I'm the greatest woman of all time, that seed of telling myself like, I can do this, I started training. And while I was training, I was eating better. And when I was eating better, I was actually praying to God to help me eat better, to help me deal with the hunger pains that I have when I'm getting ready for a boxing match, to just be there with me. So I'm steady watering this seed, and this seed that I only watered is supposed to be 1 world title belt, but now we're here 4 years later, and this 1 world title belt is 9 of them. Right. You know, and now I've made history with 9 belts, and I got 3 different divisions faster than any boxer in history. And now I'm an MMA fighter, but it's still just like you have to plan it and you got to take care of it. You know, like people want to lose weight and think you're going to go to the gym one time and you're going to lose 20 pounds. I'm sorry, it doesn't matter how hard you work out, you're not going to lose 20 pounds in one day. None of us are that great. But it's more of just, or people that want to build muscle, but it's a seed that you plant and you have to water it. You got to give it sunlight. And now I just want to speak on the plant. When you water it, those are our tears. Exactly. Right? Those are our tears. That's our sweat. That's our hard work. And then we give it sunshine. That's when the days are happy. right? The days are happy, you're having a good time. And then also too much sunlight will kill it. It'll dry it out. You gotta put the shade over it. You know, so people gotta realize, like, look, just because you planted this seed and you have this in your mind, it doesn't mean that it's just gonna happen. You gotta put in the footsteps, you gotta put in the work, you gotta take care of the seed and watch it grow. And as it grows, you gotta do a little, you know, you may have to dig some weeds out. You gotta do stuff. And I think that people wanna just see the results right away, and it don't happen like that.
Look, this is the beginning of what we're gonna do. I am excited. I can hear a book, a devotional book. No, a devotional book.
Everybody want me to be a preacher, but I'm like, y'all don't want me to preach.
We want you to live and let your light shine. And that's, you know, we are so excited to have Clarissa Shields share with us. And this is just the beginning. We're going to do some more, because I think this is in depth and people really need to know behind every person's life is a story. But most of all, for those who are successful and content in their success, it's a God behind them. And so thank you so much.
No problem, Pastor.
Sharing.
All the time.
On fire for God. I mean, it just keeps coming out. And so I thank God for you. Congratulations already in your success.
It's coming. I'm watering that seed right now. March 5th. It's on.
Thank y'all. Flint loves Clarissa, and the world loves her, and there's so much more that's going to be coming. And so thank you for sharing with us. Be inspired. Most of all, go for greatness. And remember, what you plant today, wait, it's coming into fruition.